Introduction. The door you didn't see. You probably weren't expecting that message. It was just a regular Thursday afternoon. The kind where your to-do list felt heavier than your eyelids. The kind of day where you barely had time to think, let alone check that dusty little inbox on LinkedIn. But there it was. A short message. Polite. Unassuming. Hey, I remember you talking about this project a while ago. Something opened up. Thought of you first. Are you free to chat? And just like that, something shifted. You sat up a little straighter, scanned the name. Wait a second, wasn't this the person you met at that casual workshop 2 years ago? The one where you ended up standing near the snack table, laughing about how dry the muffins were? You remembered their face, their warmth, the easy conversation. You hadn't spoken since. And yet, here they were, opening a door you didn't even know existed. That's the thing about connection. It doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't hand you a business card with gold-embossed letters and a promise of opportunity. Sometimes it's a smile across the room, a kind word in a tough moment, a shared story, a nod, a me too. It doesn't feel like networking. It feels human. This book isn't about working the room, collecting contacts like Pokemon cards, or faking extroversion at awkward mixers. This isn't about elevator pitches or LinkedIn hacks or wearing a power suit to brunch. This is about real connection. It's about building the kind of relationships that feel like home, the kind that start quietly but echo through your life in powerful, unexpected ways. It's about the conversations that stick with you, the people who remember your name when you're not in the room, the ones who whisper your name to opportunity. So let me ask you something. Can you remember a moment when someone changed your life and maybe didn't even know it? Was it a teacher who saw potential before you did? A colleague who recommended you for something just because they believed in you? A friend who introduced you to someone you were too shy to meet? A stranger whose kind words gave you courage? Maybe you've had that moment. Or maybe it's still waiting for you. Maybe it's hidden in your next conversation, or the message you haven't sent yet. Maybe it's one coffee away, one voice note, one quiet act of showing up. Here's the truth. Networking isn't a skill some people are born with. It's not reserved for the confident, the charming, or the extroverted. It's a muscle, one that you already use more than you think. And once you learn how to feel it, how to trust it, it becomes a compass. It leads you to possibility. It brings you into rooms you didn't know you belonged in. It opens doors you didn't see. In this audiobook, we're going to walk together through stories, through tools, through unexpected moments of magic. We'll laugh. We might tear up. We'll stretch what you thought networking was and rebuild it into something that feels like you. Whether you're starting over, growing something new, or simply craving deeper connection, this book will meet you where you are and walk beside you. So take a breath. You don't have to perform. You don't have to impress. You just have to be willing to connect. Ready? Let's open the door. Chapter 1. Not networking, rewriting the whole story. Let's start with a confession. Be honest. When you hear the word networking, what comes to mind? Maybe it's a crowded room, bad lighting, stiff name tags, someone balancing a plastic cup of orange juice while desperately trying to sound impressive. That awkward handshake, the forced laugh. You standing in the corner, scanning for the exit sign and pretending to check your phone. Yeah, we've all been there. Somewhere along the way, networking became a word we flinch at. It became a performance, a strategy, something to endure. Something to tick off the career to-do list, like flossing or filing taxes. But let me ask you something that might change everything. What if networking was never about networking? Let me tell you about Omar. Omar is a graphic designer. Quiet, observant, brilliant with color, less brilliant with crowds. He once went to a networking night at a co-working space because someone told him that's how you grow. He stood near the back, smiled politely, nodded at industry jargon he barely understood. He went home with 3 business cards and a headache. None of those people ever followed up. And honestly, neither did he. But months later, something else happened. Omar was in a tiny coffee shop, his favorite one. The barista messed up his order, again, and they both laughed about it. The guy next to him at the counter joined in. They struck up a conversation about lattes, then colors, then creativity. They didn't exchange cards. They exchanged stories. A week later, that same guy messaged him on Instagram. He ran a boutique agency. They needed a designer. He remembered Omar's vibe, the way he talked about emotion and layout. He didn't care about a resume. He wanted that connection again. That one conversation over a coffee led to a contract. That contract led to another. And now, Omar is booked out for the next 6 months. He didn't network. He connected. He was fully present. He showed up as himself, and someone saw it. That is the heartbeat of this chapter. Here's the truth nobody told you. You've already been networking. You just didn't call it that. That friend who introduced you to someone who helped you land a gig? That manager who remembered you from another job and called when something opened up? That person you helped who later brought your name into a room full of decision makers? That's it. That's networking. And it didn't require you to be someone else. So why do we still believe that to grow, to rise, to expand? We have to be fake. It's because the word itself got hijacked. It became a symbol of power dynamics and posturing, of trying to get instead of trying to give, of measuring value in what someone can do for us instead of who they really are. But what if we change that definition? What if networking wasn't a spotlight, but a bridge? Let's try something. Picture someone in your life who helped you without expecting anything back. Really think about them. What was the moment? How did it feel? Now picture someone you helped. Maybe you didn't even realize it at the time. A kind word, a recommendation, a moment of listening when they needed it. You see it now, don't you? Networking isn't about showing up to get. It's about showing up, period. Showing up curious, honest, generous. It's presence over pitch, people over performance. It's not who you know, it's who you care about. So here's your new definition. Networking is building a web of trust. It's the moment someone says, I know just the right person for this. It's when your name enters a room before you do, and it carries warmth, not just credentials. And you don't need to change who you are to do that. You need to deepen who you are, to listen better, to give more freely, to notice people, to care. We're not going to teach you how to work a room in this audiobook. We're going to teach you how to be real in a world that's craving it. We're going to explore how human connection becomes your greatest currency, one that grows with every authentic moment you create. You don't need a strategy. You need a shift, from transactional to transformational, from trying to be seen to truly seeing others, from I hate networking to, wait a minute, I've already been doing this. I just didn't call it that. You ready to keep rewriting the story? Let's turn the page. Chapter 2. The conversation that changed everything. It was raining that day, not the kind of rain that made you run for cover, the kind that made you slow down. You know those moments when the city feels quieter than usual, like the world exhales, and for once, you're not in a rush? That was the kind of rain Mia walked through. Umbrella tucked under her arm, sketchbook wedged under her coat, shoes squeaking with every step. She had just left another gallery, one more polite rejection. They liked her style, they said, but not enough. Not yet. Maybe next season. She didn't cry. She was too used to it by now. Instead, she turned the corner and ducked into her favorite bookstore. Not because she needed a new book, but because she needed a reason not to go home feeling small again. Inside, it smelled like ink and dust and comfort. She wandered between shelves, her fingers grazing spines like old friends. She wasn't really looking for anything until she saw him. He was standing in the art section, flipping through a book on abstract expressionism. Older, kind eyes, a scarf too big for his coat. He looked up as she reached for the same book. They both paused, then smiled. You like Rothko? He asked. She nodded. "I like the silence in his work," she said. "He makes colors feel like emotions." He tilted his head. "That's a beautiful way to put it." And just like that, they were in conversation. Not about jobs, not about contacts, about art, about colors, about why people create things they're afraid no one will ever understand. They sat in the bookstore cafe for nearly 2 hours. She told him about her sketchbook. He asked to see it. He flipped through every page with the kind of attention that felt like a gift, not just polite nods, but real questions. "Why did you use red here? Was this drawn in anger or longing?" She laughed. "Both," she said. He laughed too. Then he said something that made her stop breathing for a second. "I run a residency in the south of France. Quiet place. Just art, nature, and time. I think you'd love it. If you're interested, I'd be happy to recommend you." She blinked. "Are you serious?" He nodded. "I don't recommend many, but I've seen something in your lines and in your eyes." That night, Mia didn't just walk home. She floated. 3 months later, she was standing on a hillside in Provence, painting sunrise after sunrise. The residency changed her life. She found her voice. She found her rhythm. She found herself. And it all started with a single, unexpected hello. Sometimes the conversation that changes everything doesn't come with a spotlight or an agenda. It comes in a quiet bookstore on a rainy day. It comes when you're not trying to sell yourself. It comes when you're being yourself. You never know who's watching, who's listening, who might see in you what you haven't yet seen in yourself. We spend so much time chasing connections we think we need, that we forget the magic of the ones we never saw coming. One conversation, one moment of realness, one person who truly listens. That's all it takes. Not a room full of business cards. Just one voice, meeting yours, at the right time. And that changes everything. Are you ready for your moment? Let's keep going. Chapter 3. How to be remembered. The art of presence. Do you remember the last time someone really looked at you? Not glanced, not nodded while scrolling, but looked, as if what you were saying was the most important thing in the world at that moment. Now ask yourself this. When was the last time you made someone feel that way? In a world bursting with noise, where notifications buzz louder than thoughts, being present is rare. And that rarity? That's what makes it unforgettable. Lena had never liked parties. Too many voices, too much surface talk. She often found herself glued to the snack table, politely chewing and quietly planning her escape. But that night was different. She didn't plan to stay. She certainly didn't plan to talk to anyone. Then someone noticed her. Noticed, not in the way of, "Hey, haven't seen you around before," but in the way that cuts through noise. He approached without fanfare. Didn't lead with his job, his goals, or his pitch. Instead, he said, "You look like someone who thinks deeply. What's on your mind right now?" Lena blinked. No one had ever asked her that. Not like that. Not at a party. And in that moment, something shifted. She found herself talking, not performing. She shared a story about her grandmother's garden, about how she missed the smell of jasmine at night, about the poem she never finished writing. He didn't interrupt, didn't turn the conversation to himself. He just listened, fully, quietly. His attention was like an open space where her words could stretch their legs. By the end of the night, Lena wasn't thinking about her exit. She was thinking about presence and how powerful it felt to be seen. That's what we're talking about here. Presence isn't loud. It doesn't show off. It's not about dominating a conversation or dazzling with clever words. It's about making someone feel like they matter. In that moment. To you. You do it by asking better questions. Not, "What do you do?" but "What lights you up lately?" Not, "Where are you from?" but "Where do you feel most at home?" You do it by listening, not waiting for your turn to speak. You do it by staying curious, not trying to impress. You do it by remembering that people rarely recall your exact words, but they always remember how you made them feel. Think of presence like a fingerprint. It leaves a mark, soft but lasting. We underestimate the quiet power of presence. But the truth is, you don't need a booming voice or a sparkling resume or 100 followers in a room. You need to show up, fully, with your eyes, your ears, your heart. When someone speaks, lean in, not with your body, but with your attention. Be the person who doesn't look away when the conversation gets real. Hold space. Let silence breathe. Don't fill it with solutions. Fill it with understanding. That's what makes people remember you. Not your cleverness, not your charm, your presence. Because in the end, people don't want to network with resumes. They want to connect with humans. So next time you're in a room full of noise, be the quiet space someone walks into and finally feels heard. That's how you stay with them, long after the room is empty. Chapter 4. Awkward is a superpower. Let's be honest. Networking. The word alone can tighten your chest a little, right? Makes your palms sweat, your brain freeze, your smile stiffen just a little too wide. You rehearse what to say, then forget it the moment you need it. You laugh at the wrong time. You call someone the wrong name, twice. And then, as you walk away, that inner voice whispers, "Well, that was a disaster." But here's the truth nobody tells you. Awkward is not the enemy. In fact, awkward might just be your secret power. Let me take you back to a dimly lit rooftop gathering in Brooklyn. You know the kind. String lights, clinking glasses, everyone acting like they're on the edge of launching the next big thing. A guy named Reem was there, graphic designer, funny, talented, and as introverted as a turtle in winter. He didn't know many people, so he clutched his drink like it owed him rent. He watched the clusters of confident conversations and quietly counted down the minutes until it would be socially acceptable to leave. And then, it happened. He tried to compliment someone's shoes, but instead, what came out was, "Hey, your feet look responsible." There was a pause, a blink, a laugh, not mocking, not cold, real laughter. And just like that, walls fell. A group turned toward him. The conversation opened up. Reem's awkwardness hadn't pushed people away. It drew them in. Not because it was smooth, but because it was honest, endearing, relatable. Here's the thing. You don't need to be slick to be memorable. You don't need polished sentences or the perfect elevator pitch. You just need to be you. Even if that you sometimes stumbles over words. Even if that you tells bad puns when nervous. Even if that you mixes up metaphors like a blender without a lid. Awkward is real. And real is magnetic. People are tired of the highlight reels. They want the bloopers. The bloopers are where trust lives. Connection hides in the cracks, in the shaky hands and imperfect hellos. Maybe you're the kind of person who needs to warm up before you open up. That's okay. You don't have to enter a room like a spotlight just hit you. You can enter quietly, with eyes that notice, ears that listen, and a heart that cares. That is unforgettable. Maybe you freeze up sometimes. Forget names. Trip over your words. You're not broken. You're human. And guess what? Most people feel the same. Even the so-called natural networkers. They fumble too. They just learn to dance with the awkwardness instead of trying to hide it. So here's a wild idea. What if the sweaty palms were a kind of truth serum? What if your nervous laugh was a bridge, not a barrier? What if that moment you thought was your worst was actually the moment someone else sighed with relief and thought, finally, someone I can actually talk to? The key isn't to get rid of the awkward, it's to own it. Because when you show up as your full, imperfect self, you give everyone else permission to do the same. And that's when magic happens. Not behind a polished mask, but in a messy, real, I don't know what to say but I care kind of way. So go ahead. Say the weird thing. Stumble a little. Be the first to laugh at yourself. You're not doing it wrong. You're doing it real. And real, my friend, is what people remember. Chapter 5. No one wins alone. Why people are the real algorithm. You scroll through your feed, Someone you went to school with just got featured in a magazine. Someone else launched a business that took off. Another friend landed their dream job in a city you can barely afford to visit. And for a second, you wonder, how did they do it? What's their secret? What algorithm are they plugged into that you missed? Let's pause right there, because here's the truth. The real algorithm isn't code, it's connection. Behind every success story, every leap forward, every overnight anything is a web of people. People who saw, people who heard, people who opened the door. Let me tell you about Layla. Layla was a high school teacher. Creative, passionate, underpaid, overworked. On weekends, she designed journals. Beautiful, soulful, personalized journals. Not for a business, just because she loved it. One day, she posted a photo of a journal she made for a friend. No hashtags, no paid ads, just a quiet moment she wanted to share. 3 weeks later, her inbox pinged. A woman she'd taught 5 years ago, now working at a mindfulness startup, saw that journal. She remembered how Layla made her feel seen when she was a lost 15-year-old. That former student introduced her to her manager, who showed Layla's journals to the founder, who asked if she could create a custom line for their brand. And just like that, a side hobby became a company. All because of a human connection planted years ago, watered by kindness and harvested at the right time. We love to talk about making it, but we rarely talk about the people who helped make it happen. The boss who took a chance on you, the barista who introduced you to a podcast that changed your thinking, the stranger who replied to your DM with an opportunity, the friend who told their friend who told their friend about you. Success is rarely a solo climb. It's a village, a network of shared glances, soft encouragements, and quiet referrals. It's a chain reaction of belief. And here's the twist. You're not just on the receiving end of that. You're also part of someone else's village. You're someone's link in the chain, someone's moment of yes, someone's I know a person who'd be perfect for that. Think about this. The next time you meet someone, whether it's at a party, a workshop, or standing in line at the pharmacy, you're not just meeting a person. You're meeting their entire world, their stories, their contacts, their experiences, their hopes, their invisible doors waiting to open. That's what makes connection powerful, not because of what people can do for you, but because of who people can become with you. It's not about collecting business cards. It's about cultivating journeys. Because the people who matter most, they're not just names in your phone. They're fellow travelers, co-authors in your becoming. We live in a world that tells us to be self-made. But here's the truth. No one puts on posters. No one wins alone. Behind every door that opens, there's someone on the other side turning the knob. Someone who remembered how you made them feel. Someone who believed in what you couldn't yet see in yourself. Someone who thought, let me send this their way. So maybe, just maybe. Instead of asking, how do I get ahead? We start asking, who can I grow with? Who am I cheering for? Who's walking beside me? Because people, they are the real algorithm. They are the map, the bridge, the spark. So take care of your connections, not like tools, but like treasures. Because in the end, the greatest breakthroughs don't come from hacking a system. They come from honoring the people who help build the path beneath your feet. Chapter 6. Digital warmth, making screens feel like coffee shops. You open your phone. There's a message request. Someone you don't know, but they've written to you like they do. Not in a weird way, not in a copy-paste pitch way, but with presence, with care, with warmth. You pause, you smile, you reply. And just like that, a thread begins to weave between two people who've never shared a room, but have suddenly shared a moment. We used to think connection only happened face-to-face, eye contact, handshake, shared air. But the world has changed, and so has connection. Today, some of the deepest relationships begin in the comment section, in a voice note, in a 2 a.m. message that says, I don't know you, but I felt something reading this, and I had to reach out. And you know what? That's not less real. It's not lesser because it happened through a screen. It's just different. The screen is the new table, and we all have a seat. Let me take you into a story. Jason was an illustrator in Manila. He posted doodles online. Not polished, not perfect, just honest, funny reflections on anxiety, self-doubt, and joy. One day, he drew a cartoon of a little character whispering, "Maybe you don't have to hustle so hard to be worthy." He didn't tag anyone, didn't boost the post, just posted it with the caption, "For whoever needs it." That little cartoon got shared, and shared, and shared again, until one day it landed in the inbox of a creative director at a global mental health non-profit. Her message: "Hi, Jason. We don't know each other, but I saw your drawing and couldn't stop thinking about it. Would you ever be open to working with us on a campaign? We think your art could change lives." He said yes, and it did. See, digital warmth isn't about being good at social media. It's about being human on social media. It's in the way you write a message that actually sounds like your voice. It's in the comment that really responds, not just emojis. It's in the voice note that says, "Hey, I just read your post and it stayed with me." These little gestures, they feel small, but they echo. People remember sincerity. They remember warmth. They remember when a screen felt like a table and the message felt like a coffee shared. So how do you create digital warmth? Start here. 1. Speak like a person, not a pitch. Don't introduce yourself like a resume. Say hi like you would to a friend at a bookstore. Be real. Be you. That's enough. 2. Be specific. "I loved your post" is nice, but the sentence where you said you felt like a ghost in your own life, that cracked something open in me, that's connection. 3. Send without expectation. When you write a kind message, don't wait for the reply like it's a transaction. Send it because it was true. That energy, people feel it. 4. Be generous online. Celebrate people. Tag them in things they'd love. Comment with your whole heart. Not to get seen, but to see. 5. Use voice. Yes, your literal voice. Voice notes, short videos, audio replies. They cut through the scroll like a friend waving across a room. Here's what's magical. You don't need thousands of followers to have impact. You need presence. You need care. You need to show up in a way that says, "Hey, I see you, and I'm here too." Because on the other side of every screen is a person, just like you, hungry for connection, grateful for kindness, searching for realness in a feed full of filters. You can build bridges with emojis. You can plant seeds with voice notes. You can change lives with a message that starts, "I don't know if anyone's told you lately, but that was beautiful." So the next time you post or scroll or hesitate before hitting send, remember, the screen isn't a wall, it's a window. And on the other side, someone might just be waiting for your knock. Chapter 7. Give first or go home. It started with a message, not asking for anything, just offering something small. "Hey, I thought of you when I saw this article." Or, "I loved what you said in that panel. Shared it with a friend who needed to hear it." Or, "You and my friend Lena need to meet." You're both changing the world in similar ways. No strings, no agenda, just a gift. This is the heartbeat of true connection. Giving first. Not giving because you'll get. Not giving because you want to be remembered. Giving because you see someone, and you choose to honor that. It's not strategy, it's soul. When we hear the word networking, we brace ourselves. We imagine people handing out business cards like flyers. We think of climbing ladders, making asks, and trying to get something. But what if the real power was never in the ask, but in the offering? What if connection begins not with a pitch, but with a gift? Let me tell you a story. A woman named Sarah ran a tiny newsletter about creativity and courage. She only had a few hundred subscribers, no brand deals, no big platform. But every week she wrote like it mattered, because to her, it did. One day she shared a quote from an obscure poet, along with a voice note about how that quote helped her through a rough patch. Unbeknownst to her, that voice note got forwarded, and forwarded again. until it landed in the inbox of a creative director at a global publishing house. The director didn't need help. She wasn't hiring. But something about Sarah's words, her sincerity, her giving spirit, stopped her. She replied. They talked. Months later, Sarah's first book was born. Not because she asked for it, because she gave something true. This is how the best relationships begin. You send an encouraging DM. You recommend someone for a gig that isn't yours. You shout someone out in a room they're not even in. You connect two people who might help each other, even if you never benefit from that connection. That's the magic. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the smartest. You just have to care enough to give. So, what does giving first look like? 1. Share the spotlight. Tag people whose work you admire. Repost something meaningful and say why it moved you. Use your space to elevate someone else's voice. 2. Be the bridge. Introduce people who should meet. No strings, no scorekeeping. Say, I don't know what will come of this, but I think magic could happen if you two connected. 3. Leave thoughtful comments. Not just love this, but the way you framed that really shifted something for me. Thank you for. Send spontaneous encouragement, voice notes, texts, messages that say, hey, I'm cheering for you. 5. Offer without needing anything in return. Give help, give insight, give attention. Not because you're building a funnel, but because you're building trust. We remember the people who gave to us when no one else did. We trust the people who give without keeping score. We grow because of people who plant seeds they'll never see bloom. This is not a hack. This is a heart set. In a world where everyone seems to be asking, can you do something for me? Be the one who asks, what can I do for you? Because generosity is magnetic. It's unexpected. It's unforgettable. And the truth is, the people who give first are the ones who are remembered last. So if you're unsure where to begin, if you feel small or unseen in a loud world, start here. Give something true. Give something kind. Give something you'd want to receive and watch what comes back. Not because you chased it, but because you let it flow. Give first, or go home. Because real connection starts there. Chapter 8. Coffee, kindness, and the long game. It wasn't the big meeting. It wasn't the elevator pitch. It wasn't the perfect post. It was a text. On a Tuesday. That said, hey, I just thought of you. How are you really? This is the kind of moment that builds real connection. Not loud, not strategic, but sincere. Because networking isn't a one-time event. It's not the conference you barely remember. It's not a LinkedIn request you never followed up on. Real networking, real human connection is a rhythm, a heartbeat, a way of showing up again, and again, and again. Think of the people you feel closest to, not just your best friends, but the ones you trust, the ones you'd reach out to if everything fell apart. Now ask yourself, did they get there because of one incredible moment, or because of many small ones? Here's what the long game looks like. It looks like remembering birthdays, not because Facebook reminded you, because you made a note when they said, my birthday's coming up next week, but I'm feeling kind of me about it. And then, a week later, you texted, I know you weren't excited about today, but I'm glad you're here. Happy birthday. It looks like checking in after the storm. Maybe they posted something vague, or maybe they didn't post at all, but you noticed and you asked, how are you doing? You've been on my mind. It looks like celebrating the small wins. They launched a podcast. Share it. They got their first client. Cheer like it's the Super Bowl. They finished a tough week. Send coffee. And sometimes, it looks like quietly showing up, even when there's nothing to gain, even when they're not responding, even when the connection feels distant, because this is not about quick returns. This is about staying in the game, the long game. Let me tell you about Omar. Omar was a quiet guy, never the center of attention. But he had this habit. Every Friday he'd send 5 messages. Just 5. Sometimes it was, thinking of you, hope you're doing well. Other times, saw this and it made me smile. Thought it might make you smile too. He never expected anything back. But slowly, people started remembering him, referring him, reaching out to him when they had something big in motion. One day, someone he'd sent a message to a year earlier, a stranger, really, introduced him to a partner who changed the course of his business. Not because Omar asked for it, but because he stayed in touch. This is what no one tells you. Most opportunities don't come from people you see once, they come from people you stay connected with. Even lightly, even sporadically, but consistently. The key is not intensity, it's intention. So how do you build this rhythm? 1. Create rituals. Make checking in a habit. Every Monday, send 2 voice notes. Every Friday, text one person you admire. 2. Track the magic. Keep a connection journal, not for follow-ups, but to remember who lit you up and why. 3. Celebrate often. Milestones, moments, progress. Be the kind of person who throws confetti, even digitally. 4. Be kind when no one's looking. Support someone's work without tagging them. Recommend someone without telling them. Give feedback that helps them grow. The long game isn't glamorous, it's not always seen, but it is always felt. And here's the truth. The people who win the long game aren't the ones who made the biggest splash. They're the ones who kept showing up. Not perfectly, not constantly, but kindly and consistently. So have the coffee. Send the message. Show up just because. Because every check-in is a seed. Every kind word is water. And one day, the garden grows. This is how we build something real. Coffee, kindness, and the long game. Chapter 9. Network Detox. Boundaries, drains, and when to walk away. There's a moment, quiet but unmistakable, when your body speaks before your brain does. A heaviness, a pause, a small sigh before you answer the phone or open the message. That moment matters. It's the sound of your nervous system whispering, "This connection doesn't feel good anymore." Not all networking is healthy. Not every conversation builds you up. Not every relationship deserves a seat at your table. But here's the tricky part. We're taught to keep connecting, to stay open, to give everyone a chance, to be professional even when it drains us. So we stay in circles that no longer align, in conversations that deplete us, in connections that blur the line between support and self-sacrifice. Until one day, we feel empty from giving too much to the wrong places. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about toxic networking, where every interaction feels like a transaction, where your worth is measured by what you can offer and kindness is confused with obligation. Let's talk about emotional labor, the invisible weight of always being the one who listens, who supports, who follows up, even when no one asks how you're doing. Let's talk about the guilt, the kind that creeps in when you start pulling away as if protecting your peace makes you selfish. Here's the truth. You do not owe access to everyone. You do not have to stay in rooms where you shrink. You do not have to respond just because it's polite. You are allowed to choose your energy, your capacity, your people. So what does a network detox look like? It starts with noticing that gut feeling, that tension in your jaw, that dread before a catch-up you didn't even want. Don't dismiss it. That's data. Then comes clarity. Ask yourself, do I feel energized or drained after we talk? Is this mutual, or am I carrying most of the weight? Do I feel safe being real here? If the answer feels heavy, that's a sign. Next, boundaries. Not dramatic, not cruel, just clear. That might sound like, "Hey, I'm taking space from a lot of messages lately. Thanks for understanding." Or, "I won't be able to meet regularly right now, but I'm cheering you on from here." Or sometimes, you don't say anything. You just stop reaching out. Stop replying. Stop pouring into something that no longer pours back. That too is love. For yourself. Let's be real. Some people won't like it. They might call you distant, cold, disloyal. But here's something powerful. You don't need everyone. You just need your right people. The ones who don't drain you, who respect your number, who know that connection isn't measured in how often you speak, but how safe you feel when you do. I'll tell you about Lena. Lena was known for being the connector. She remembered birthdays, sent job leads, hosted virtual mixers. Everyone came to her when they needed something. But behind the scenes, she was exhausted. One night, she deleted a group chat that used to bring her joy. It had become a space of complaints, gossip, and expectations. No one noticed she left. No one checked in. And in that silence, Lena found something she didn't expect. Peace. She stopped saying yes to every coffee, stopped offering help before it was asked for, stopped performing connection, and started living it. And then, slowly, the right people noticed. The ones who asked how she was, who offered value back, who didn't just take. That was the real network. Small, sacred, sustainable. So here's your permission slip. You can unfollow. You can ghost. You can block, mute, or step away quietly. You can choose your capacity. Because when you protect your energy, you protect the quality of your connections. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the noise. Let go of the spaces that dim your light. Because when you clear the clutter, you make room for the ones who see you and honor what they see. This isn't losing a network, it's finding the right one. Chapter 10. The 3 people you're not talking to. There's someone you haven't spoken to in a while, someone whose name just popped into your head, maybe right now. You don't know why, but you remember their laugh, their kindness, the way they saw something in you before you could see it in yourself. Maybe it's been months, maybe years, and you wonder, is it too late to reach out? Let me tell you something. It's not too late. In fact, the door is probably still open. It's just waiting for you to knock. This chapter is about returning, about looking back not with regret, but with curiosity. Because sometimes the next opportunity isn't in a stranger's hand, it's in a message you never sent, a thank you you never said, a bridge you forgot to walk back across. Let's meet the 3 people you're not talking to. The first, someone who helped you, a mentor, a guide, someone who showed up at a pivotal time, maybe with advice, a connection, a small moment of encouragement that changed everything. You meant to thank them. You never did. Or maybe you did thank them, but then life moved on, and you drifted. Reach out, not to ask for anything, just to tell them what their presence meant to you. Those messages, they don't just reconnect people, they restore purpose. The second person, a friend you drifted from. No big fight, just time, distance, life. But you still think about them. You still smile when their name shows up in old photos. You still miss the way it felt easy to be yourself around them. Send the message. It doesn't have to be perfect. Hey, I know it's been a while. I was just thinking about you today, and I hope you're well. That's all it takes. You'd be amazed how many people are waiting for the same small opening. And the third? Someone you underestimated. Maybe you worked together once, and you didn't really connect. Maybe they messaged you, and you never replied. Maybe you couldn't see who they were becoming. But now, something tells you there's more to their story. Look again. Reconnect. You might discover a whole new chapter hidden in someone you already met. A true story. Amal was scrolling through LinkedIn one night. She saw a post from her old college professor, the one who used to stay after class to talk about life. She hadn't spoken to him in 10 years. She hesitated. Then she sent a message. You probably don't remember me, but I just wanted to say thank you. Your class changed the way I think. I carry your words with me every day. The reply came in minutes. Amal, I do remember you. And I really needed this today. I've been wondering if my work still matters. That one message rekindled a connection. It led to a conversation, which led to a collaboration, which opened the exact door Amal had been hoping to find. We think life moves forward in straight lines. It doesn't. It loops. It circles. It brings people back. And sometimes, the thing you've been searching for is already woven into your past. So here's your invitation. Think of 3 people. Someone who helped you. Someone you miss. Someone you might have overlooked. Don't wait for the perfect words. Just reach out. Your next connection might not be new, it might be remembered. Because the magic of networking isn't always in meeting someone new. Sometimes it's in rediscovering someone you already knew was special. Chapter 11. Designing your connection ritual. Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning and instead of the usual rush, emails, meetings, the noise of your phone, you take a deep breath. You know exactly how you're going to spend your first few moments. It's not chaotic, it's intentional, and it involves the people you care about. This isn't about networking in the traditional sense. It's not about cold emails or tedious follow-ups. It's about designing a rhythm that keeps the relationships that matter most to you alive, without pressure, without burnout, just the natural, nourishing flow of connection. Here's what I want you to think about. How can you make staying in touch a joyful ritual, not a chore? It doesn't have to be grand, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be consistent and authentic. Let's start with the weekly check-in. This one's simple. Once a week, pick 2 people from your network. It can be anyone. A mentor, a colleague, a friend, even someone you met at a conference 6 months ago. Send them a message. Hey, name, I was thinking about you today. How are things going on your end? That's it. Just checking in. This isn't about asking for something, it's about creating a space where connection can flourish. And the best part? It doesn't feel like work. It feels like being a friend. Now, let's talk about monthly intros. Once a month, take time to connect 2 people who could benefit from knowing each other. Maybe they're in similar fields, maybe their skills complement each other. Whatever the reason, make the introduction. Then step back. Hey, name 1. Meet, name 2. I think you 2 would really hit it off. Name is amazing at skill experience. Name has some incredible insights on topic. Thought you both might enjoy a chat. Done. You've just created an opportunity. And now, you get to watch it unfold. But the real magic happens in the daily moments of digital warmth. It's easy to forget, but small gestures every day are often the ones that matter the most. A simple like on someone's post, a comment that says, "You're doing great," a heart emoji in response to a story. These tiny moments remind people you see them, you see their work, their joy, their struggles. What's even more powerful? Send voice notes or a quick video message. You'd be amazed at how much warmth you can transmit through a voice. Hey, name, I just listened to your podcast. Loved how you talked about specific idea. You're absolutely right. People need to hear that. Just saying something specific lets people know you're paying attention. You're present. You're there. And that's the core of building deep connections. These rituals are not about adding another thing to your to-do list. They're not about forcing conversation. They're about infusing intentionality into the relationships that matter. And here's the beauty of it. As you build these rhythms into your life, they start to feel natural. They don't drain you. They energize you. Here's an example from my own life. I have a friend named Clara. Every month, she sends me a message to check in. But it's not just any message. She asks a specific question. What's the one thing you've learned this month that surprised you? It's so simple, but it opens up a conversation that's not about small talk. It's about growth, about new insights, about what's happening beneath the surface. And then there's another ritual I have with a colleague, Alex. Once a week, we take 10 minutes at the start of the day to message each other about something non-work related. A new book we're reading, a personal win we're celebrating, a new hobby we're trying. We call it Morning Spark. It's our small moment to remind each other that we're not just colleagues, we're humans in this together. Let's go back to you now. Think about your own rhythm. What would a weekly check-in look like for you? Who's someone you can connect with just to see how they're doing? What would a meaningful introduction look like for you to create each month? Who in your network could you link up and help grow? And daily, what small gestures can you make to show someone you care? A voice note, a comment, a smiley face emoji with a message that says, "You're doing amazing." Designing your connection ritual isn't about forcing it. It's about creating a flow, a dance of giving and receiving. You don't have to do everything. Just pick one thing and start there. You'll be amazed at how quickly these rhythms turn into lasting connections that are real, sustainable, and joyful. So, how will you begin? Take one step. It doesn't have to be big, but it will start the journey. You've got this. Final chapter. Open the door for someone else. It's a quiet moment. You sit back, reflecting on the journey. Not just the one you've walked, but the one you've been a part of. You've learned, you've grown, and now it's your turn to give. This is the moment where everything comes full circle. In the beginning, you were the one seeking help, waiting for someone to open a door for you. But now, you've stepped into a new role. You're the one holding the door open, allowing others to walk through. You see, legacy doesn't have to be this distant, abstract idea. It's not something reserved for the greats, the ones with decades of wisdom. Legacy is built in the small moments, in the way you reach back and extend a hand, in the conversations you initiate, in the doors you open for someone else. Think back to that first story we shared, the one about someone receiving unexpected help, a chance they didn't see coming. Maybe it was a mentor in a bookstore. Maybe it was a forgotten message in a DM. Maybe it was the right person at the right time, lifting them to new heights. Now, imagine you as the person who creates that moment for someone else. You, stepping into a room where someone's waiting for guidance, for a connection, for a path forward. And you see them. You recognize them. You know exactly what they need. It's not about big gestures. It's about noticing the quiet moments, the ones where you can make a difference. Maybe it's a quick introduction. Maybe it's a piece of advice. Maybe it's a word of encouragement that changes everything. Here's the key. The more you give, the more you open doors. The more you create opportunities for others, the more you realize something beautiful. You start to see that what you give always comes back. Sometimes not in the ways you expect, but in ways that are even more beautiful than you imagined. You might not even notice at first, but one day you'll look back and see how far you've come and how far others have come because of you. This chapter closes with a final story. It's a story that echoes the one we began with. A story of connection, of doors opening, of a moment when everything changed. It's about a young woman, still unsure of herself, sitting in a coffee shop, scrolling through her phone. She stumbles across a message, a simple note from someone she once met at a conference. It's not a sales pitch. It's not an ask for anything. It's just a check-in. Hey, how's it going? That message, so small, becomes the turning point. She feels seen. She feels remembered. She feels like someone believes in her. And in that moment, she realizes something profound. It's not the big opportunities that change everything. It's the quiet moments of connection. It's the people who care enough to show up for her. And now, she's the one paying it forward, opening doors for others, extending the hand she once received. The circle grows and the legacy is passed on. So here's my invitation to you, the person who's read or listened to these words. It's your turn now. You've gathered the tools. You've learned the rhythms. You've embraced connection in all its beautiful, messy, authentic forms. Now it's time for you to be the one who opens the door. You don't have to wait for someone to ask. Just step forward, because when you open the door for someone else, you're not just changing their life. You're creating a ripple. You're planting a seed that will grow far beyond what you see. And in the end, you'll realize that by giving, you've already received more than you could have ever imagined.